A good gaming mouse goes quite a long way. In the past few years that I've been using the PC, especially for PC gaming, I've used quite a number of gaming mice and they were all pretty positive. But there's one design that really stood out amongst the rest, and that's the Razer Basilisk. Well, recently, Razer has just made it better. This is the Razer Basilisk V3, and if you just want the TLDR, it basically replaces the previous Basilisk V2 with a few new features and upgrades while keeping the iconic Basilisk ergonomic. If you're currently rocking the V2, well, you don't really need to upgrade to the V3, it's very similar. But with that said, there are a few features and upgrades to the V3 that might entice you to do so. Now I'm pretty sure that most of you are already familiar with the design and layout of the Basilisk lineup, and the V3 is pretty much 95% similar. So let's just get straight into talking about what's actually new. The most obvious difference is the RGB underglow that runs across the bottom of the mouse from the LED strip, and honestly, I like it. It wraps around the bottom of the mouse and it's very nicely diffused. It does add a bit more character on top of the Basilisk design, but yet it's not that intrusive to the point that it's outlandish. In addition, because of the way the mouse has a slight bevel, kind of like chamfered edges on your phone, the RGB isn't shining directly into your eyes even when you have the mouse at the corner of your peripheral vision. Great for focusing on gaming, especially in the dark. The second main difference is the multi-function trigger, which you can easily access with your thumb. Though I guess a more common name for this would be the sniper button. Hold the trigger down as you're using the mouse and you'll temporarily override your current DPI setting. That's the main use for it. Now, in the previous Basilisk V2, this trigger was actually removable. You can choose to have it or not, but for the V3, this is now fixed in place. It is also slightly smaller in physical size compared to the previous, so you might need to shift your grip slightly forward to access it easier. Personally for me, I have to resort to use a palm grip, which I don't really prefer in order for my thumb to actually access that multifunction trigger. But of course, your mileage will vary and it really depends on how big your hand is. But apart from that, it's basically the same multifunction trigger. The third main difference would be the new optical sensor, which now has a max sensitivity of 26,000 dpi, an increase of 6,000 over the previous. The max speed and acceleration remains the same, at 650 IPS and 50G respectively. But we now come to the main difference with the V3 over the V2, and it's got everything to do with that scroll wheel, or as Razer calls it, the Hyper Scroll Tilt Wheel. You might recall, the Basilisk V2 had a dial on the underside which allows you to adjust the resistance of the scroll wheel. You can have it tactile, you can have it free spinning, or somewhere in between the two. But now in the Basilisk V3, there's this new feature called Smart Rail mode that you can enable in Synapse, which will automatically switch tactile and free spinning mode depending on how fast you actually physically move the scroll wheel. So by default, it's tactile. You can feel the notches and clearly hear the steps, which is like before, and it's great. But if you flick the scroll wheel, it immediately changes to free spinning mode, allowing it to go on and scroll the page as fast as it can. The moment it reaches the end, you can hear the click as the motors re-engage once more and it's back to tactile mode. I'll be frank, when I first got the mouse, I didn't really like it and I didn't really understand why would you want such a feature, but after about 2 weeks of using it, I can say that it gets more and more intuitive, and now I can say that I quite like it. But if say you don't like it, you can lock it to either tactile or free spinning mode, your choice. Moreover, Smart Rail mode doesn't come on by default, so it's up to you to experiment. And that's it really. Overall, the V3 is just pretty much an upgrade over the V2, and if you like any of the Basilisk lineup for the matter, you'll be happy with the V3. But now I have to mention one thing about the V3 that might be a downgrade to some of you out there, and that's the weight, because this is a heavier mouse. The V3 comes in at about 10% heavier compared to the previous V2, 101 grams versus the previous 92 grams. Some of you might like a lighter mouse, some of you might like a heavier mouse, but in the end, it's your preference. If you're looking for a new mouse and you like the design of the Basilisk, and to that extent the Logitech G502 Hero, you might want to check out the Basilisk V3. On top of that, you might also be intrigued by the price because the V3 is going to be priced at just under $70 US. Which if you didn't know, it's actually $10 cheaper compared to the V2 when it first launched. Like I've mentioned, I've used quite a number of mice over the years, and personally for me, my favorite mouse is the Basilisk. It hits everything for me. The looks, the ergonomics, the performance. And now with the V3, it has a new nifty feature which I do enjoy. So do I recommend this? Well, I will wholeheartedly say yes. And I guess you already saw that from a mile away because this is my favorite mouse, my favorite lineup. But again, I do have to mention that my favorite mouse might not be your favorite mouse and it might not be fit for your needs or your comfort, so on and so forth. So if you have the chance, do go out and try all the different gaming mice out there that you can so that you kind of know and understand what you actually prefer and what you actually want so that you can then finally find the favorite mouse and the perfect mouse for your needs. But with that said, if you're interested in the Basilisk V3, this is pretty amazing. I do like it. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to, do check out the affiliate links in the description. If you do, thanks for support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Till the next one. See ya!